Perfect.
For anybody that's watching that makes those WET comments, Viacom owns Nickelodeon and MTV and BET. So therefore, they can take your fucking kid and show them a SpongeBob, and then SpongeBob can be a superstar for a fucking teen that's popping and twerking when they're 20. So they can raise your kid all the way up to MTV, and now they're a musician. So if ever you want to know why Britney Spears is Britney Spears, she was on motherfucking Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and then she was an artist right after. So that's everything that kind of comes into how you can be molded through your TV when you basically let somebody and not understand how it works. If you're still telling me that BET is owned by black people, you don't understand that. No, there's fucking black people positively protesting all year long. But since they don't
Yeah,
fucking own BET, not that you watch the shit anyway,
yeah,
that they can't even control what's on that shit. So they can put whatever they want on it, and that's what it is. And they can fire the Nick Cannons. How do you fire somebody that's black, even though you own BET, right? So Nick Cannon can't be on BET right now because Viacom said no, we're done.
yeah, man. It BT's it's some sad shit, man, because of what it should be and what it could be, man. Like I was talking to one of my homies who's kind of in that TV admin executive space about this the other day, and it's some sad shit because you see like digital streaming platforms right now are kind of really positioning themselves to be the new TV, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, like these kind like that is gonna be. We're gonna turn on TV. It's not gonna be like, oh, let's go to Channel 5. It's gonna be like, oh, let's go to Disney Plus. Oh, let's go to the Amazon Prime app. Like that's gonna be TV. That's
I mean,
conspiracy
yo, to be
theory.
honest, that
Yeah,
is TV. So people don't understand that. As much as you love Dave Chappelle, without Netflix, Dave Chappelle's done because
yeah,
TV destroyed him. And the old money said, Dave Chappelle, you're done, until Netflix literally smashed the mold into pieces and said, no, we're bringing him back. So
yeah.
we're just lucky that we have outlets like that, and there should be no shortage of them. Because I think people get overwhelmed just thinking, well, Netflix did this and this, and they're so big. But you need to understand that starting at any level could certainly become that. Because I mean, you see motherfuckers like what's this, DeSuss and Miro. I don't even think
Mm-hmm.
they're funny. Somebody sent me the shit like, yo, and I was like, all right, yeah, that episode was funny. But I'm like, I can't hate on their deal. They make fucking money. They get crazy amounts of people that's there. You know what I'm saying? And that's the point where it's like they started from nothing. I'm sure they didn't think the shit was gonna be anything, and then all of a sudden there it is. But guess what? If you don't fucking try, it's not gonna be anything, and I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, shout out to Jesus and Mero, man. That's a great story, and just to kind of bring it full circle too. So I'm talking to the homie, who knows a lot more about TV than me, and I'm like, damn, man. I'm looking at these streaming platforms, and I'm like, where's the black streaming platform? Where's the place that I can go and I can watch old Martin episodes and the Wayne brothers and Homeboys in Outer Space or some random bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Plus some old BET basement freestyles. Like where can I go to get all these black movies that we grew up on? Like how come there's not one place that I can even like the bad stuff, even the I got the hookup, the Master P joint,
Yo, but
you know what I'm
yo,
saying? Like
that is a
I can't
crazy
go.
statement. Like I never even thought of that. And why? Once again, where we tie all these people together, why didn't? Because I'm sure I think the Waynes own all their shit. And
Mm,
that's not in living color, because that was obviously why the in living color thing came up. But I think after that, they Keenan made sure that they own all their stuff. And I remember there was this thing called, and I can't even find it now. It was called Honest TV with Damon Wayans Jr. And there was a skit called fuck. It was like you put this ear thing in your ear and people hear exactly what you're saying for real, even though you're lying to them. Hooked on Honest.
okay.
Hooked on Honest. It's one of the funniest skits I've ever seen in my life. And they had a website for it, and they pulled it all down, and I couldn't find it. So I think they're trying to unveil it later. But with a black network, you would think that they would buy up all that shit. And all I can hope is that everybody kind of puts their movies through Tyler Perry's studio going forward, and then that
Yeah.
some of these networks, which no, I don't fucking count on Oprah at all because she doesn't do anything fucking black other than make the color purple in a horrible Henrietta Lacks movie. And then
Sound like you spent a good $20 in the movie
no,
theaters.
I watched it on
So
HBO because I know a lot about Henrietta Lacks, and I don't like the
uh,
way they kind of portrayed that to the
mhm.
point where it's like one of these black networks buy all that shit, and then you'd get it. Like if you bought all that shit right now, you get it. I'm sure you could be like, hey, I'm gonna buy Homeboys in Outer Space, and then throw it on a couple years. You know what I'm saying?
So you know what the homie told me? He told me like, and because I was telling him the same thing, I was just like, I'm I'll pay $9.99 a month to be able to go back and kind of really kind of just have access to that kind of stuff, right? Like that's something that's not there. And he was telling me that like traditionally, and maybe the times are changing, but like traditionally in media, like the black media wasn't respected like that. Those archives weren't really thought as having value, especially evergreen value that can continue to kind of be syndicated and to keep having and to keep and have like a longer shelf life, like a Seinfeld or whatever the case may be. And it's just not there. BT doesn't like BT can't go back and show you old episode of the basement like that because they didn't keep up their own archives, so they don't have it. They don't have it kind of in those. They can do that, and they just don't want to
But
invest
I
the
mean,
money to do
everything
that. But
wasn't
it,
BET. I just think that everything on
oh,
on
I know,
UPN, with
yeah. And some of that UPN stuff is in syndication. Like I'm sure I think the Wayne's Brothers in syndication right now on VH1, and you can catch old episodes of Martin stuff like that. But like even like but it even trickles down to being like if I want to buy the box set for Living Single, it's really tough to do it. And like you might be able to get the first season, but you can't get the fifth season. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just real choppy with those kind of like those classic black shows. You know what I'm saying? But it's because it comes down to systematic issues, just like with everything else in this country, right? Of black media not kind of really being respected and not also kind of and not being seen on equal playing ground with some of these other kind of with these other outlets with these other vehicles, and then it not being kind of it
well,
not being
I
protected.
mean, from what you're saying, I look at it more even as numbers. I started to look at everything now. When you tell somebody, hey, black people are 13% of the United States. Now, anytime I walk into a place and somebody's like, oh, there's no black people working here, I'm like, I don't know, is there 13% of black people working here? Because
Mm.
at 13% of the United States, you should never expect to walk into a place and see all black people, even though it does happen sometimes. So now,
Depends on where you
so
are. If I'm in DC or Atlanta, I want to see a bunch of
no,
black
DC.
people.
I said it 2 episodes ago. It's the only place I ever seen 4 black police officers in one place ever. But with that
Right.
being said, now when you transfer that over, because we have to look at numbers all the time. We have to look at marketing numbers and possibilities and what will come of it.
Yeah.
It has to be a black person that goes, you know what? I'm gonna buy a Living Single from, I think Fox was what Living Single was, and then I'm gonna push it to a black platform that's only black people, and make
And
the amount of money
it
that could
don't
possibly
necessarily
can
have
make.
and it don't necessarily have to be this is a black show put it towards black people because we already know that black culture is now youth culture. So in hip hop culture
World
it's
culture.
all kind of melded, it's all melded into one. So like this isn't like small business we're talking here. Like white people watch those shows just like Spanish people watch those shows just like black people watch those shows. And so there's a business there and it can be marketed, but it's just it's just a systematic problem with how black media is being kind of like categorized and how it's being managed. And I think a lot of those things are still in place today with old media, but we're seeing that break now kind of with these digital platforms, with a Netflix kind of giving deals to kind of all types of different creators, including minority creators, including women, you know what I'm saying, to kind of really give them access to those kind
But
of things.
once
So
again, with that, I think it's somebody that's got to buy everything. Somebody's got to buy. They're gonna go. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna buy all this black shit, and then also I'm gonna combine it with like mix in some Dharma and Greg in this motherfucker, and some Wings and
yeah,
some random ass old ass, white people shows, to where it
yeah,
works. But yeah, like I guess when you call it that, you're not gonna draw that in because it automatically is like, if you're like,
yeah,
yo, this is the black streaming service, and people are gonna be like, oh, I don't need the black streaming service. Not like when
yeah,
Disney Plus came out, and people immediately thought, I'm gonna watch motherfucking Hamilton, and then after that,
yeah,
I'm gonna watch Avengers, and then they're gonna bring back Jessica Jones. It wasn't there. There never was anything that was like, you know what, they're gonna bring some black shit, and we're gonna watch this shit. That never
yeah.
happened. So I mean, on that aspect, on the other side, you need to have a black dude buy a fucking syndicate. You need to have a black dude buy Friends.
Yeah.
You could be like, yo, I own fucking Friends now. And then I'm
Well,
taking
yeah.
Friends, and also I'm going to fucking bombard you with some motherfucking Homeboys in Outer Space and some Moesha.
You gotta. I don't know if I'm butchering the story, but I hear you talk about that, and I think about Michael Jackson and some and. As I understand the story, as the rumor goes, Paul McCartney was schooling them on just masters, right, and the value of owning your masters, and the value of really kind of like acquiring masters, and kind of how that can kind of really generate wealth down the line. So Mike heard that, he was just like, you know what, you're right, and then he went and bought Paul.
I'm gonna
he
buy
bought,
your songs.
and that was the end of that. You know
And
what
it's
I'm
as
saying?
simple as that. He's mad at me because I did good business. And Michael Jackson is actually a perfect segue because I'll go Michael Jackson for a little bit, and then we can finish this shit up. One thing that is the craziest thing to me, and I said this the other day, is that with all this rape and molestation shit coming out, I have not heard Michael Jackson's name one fucking time. And you would think
Yeah,
that in all those years they'd be able to tie him into something, which is what I never believed anyway. I didn't believe that he was involved in that shit in the first place. And when that documentary came out, I had to explain to
yeah,
somebody. As soon as Michael Jackson, the state challenged it, Oprah took all that shit down. She took it off
yeah.
YouTube. She took it off everywhere, which is like, that's a little funny too.
I seen that documentary, man, and that thing was nasty. Like it was nasty, and you can't. It, Oprah, man, she's so powerful. She's done so many great things, but like stuff like this is like it's tough to deal with, and she really has to kind of come to the carpet and really kind of explain the rationale behind it. She was trying to do the same thing with Russell Simmons as well, and then you know what I'm saying, like she got a little bit of backlash and she backed away with the documentary stuff. But like if you're gonna put out a documentary like that and you're not gonna do all the vetting in the world to make sure that these people are saying the right things, and these people, you know what I'm saying, like you can't throw smut on somebody's name like that, especially when they pass. It's if it's not sound, man. Because and then on top of that too, like for people who like if Oprah's putting her name on something like that, then like there's gonna be a population of people who give it a certain validation because they have a trust in Oprah. You know what I'm saying? And for her to lend her influence that way, man, that was disgusting,
Unquestionably,
man.
I think Oprah is a person that literally at this point has transcended race to where like white people watch it every day and they're like, oh, they don't even realize that she's black anymore because and now you kind of extend that with her photos laughing with Harvey Weinstein and shit like that to where you're like, okay, so what are we doing here? Because I remember Eddie Griffin, the stand-up comedian, saying if you're black and you're in the industry, you don't make it out clean. And now when you look at
Yeah,
it, the most the biggest role models of the last 40 fucking years have either been killed or destroyed in the media. So you can
yeah,
talk everything from Tupac to Michael Jackson to Bill Cosby to fucking
yeah,
I can't even think of other people where it's like those are the biggest. Bill Cosby is essentially the biggest black show ever, and
yeah,
here we are working on Will Smith now, and then you got R. Kelly, who might be the biggest musician ever. He wrote "You Are Not Alone." In case you didn't know, it was the highest selling single ever made by Michael Jackson.
yeah. And those are so complicated. With the Michael Jackson thing, right? Like that documentary was wild, but there's some there's some blame on Michael Jackson too because he was too familiar with too many young kids, right? Like that, like how far that went and what and kind of what extent that was. Like I don't think we'll know, but the shame in that he's too familiar with too many kids. The R. Kelly stuff, that's a
Well, the
whole
way so to give you a perspective of how I explained it, I said here's the difference between Michael Jackson and R. Kelly. When they accuse Michael Jackson of fucking with kids, you ain't never seen him with a kid again. They accuse R. Kelly, and he still had a bitch under his bed.
And you know what's sad about that too though, man, it is because and I heard somebody say this and I hate the fact that it's true, but it's kind of real. Like if R. Kelly was going on that kind of run with white girls, it wouldn't have got that far, and he would have been he would have been in jail for a long period of time. But because it was black girls, man, like there was a lot of people kind of turning a blind eye to it. And,
Oh yeah, it's the way
that,
the black community is with mental health. It's like, oh, that's crazy Jerry over there.
and it's the black community, but then it's also kind of like it's also kind of law enforcement, and like he was blatant with this. Growing up, we all heard the rumors of him marrying Aaliyah, this and that, and all the joke, like the sex tape when that came out, like you know what I'm saying, like everybody, like these things have been going on. Him peeing on girls. Dave Chappelle made the skit. Like Dave Chappelle made the skit after we had already been laughing at that for way too long because we had all seen that sex tape, the highest whatever sex tape that was bootleg. You know what I'm saying, like, like you could go anywhere. Do you remember the time? Like you could literally. I remember being in New York and like on every corner it was that tape. It was just like, yo, this is wild. Like what is going on right now? But like he's been doing foul from the beginning. Like when that documentary came out, the first part, and they talking about how when he first got on, how he was hanging out at the McDonald's across the way from the joint, giving out Happy Meals. Just like, yo, what kind of
Yo,
stuff?
listen, I knew in the question when they asked him, they was like, "Do you like young girls?" And he was like, "What you mean by young?" I was like, "Okay, R. Kelly, like, but this fucking video's over. What are you doing?"
That is media trained R. Kelly. That is not him speaking from the heart. That is after all the prep. Him hitting you with the can you define teenage? Like, what are you talking about, man?
So I guess
We are so far away from education right
I
now.
don't give
We
a
are
this.
so
Listen, man, this is a perfect podcast. I don't give a fuck, man. We started off on education. Everybody was about that life. If fucking Sarah was here, we could have talked some more education, but it's okay. It's all right. This is still fucking, an hour and 45 minutes. And I guess I'll finish up like
wow.
this and kind of go on the same level that I went with, kind of when I was in Texas and people talk that shit. Like I said, we're talking upwards of, $6,000, $7,000 from the all evil Trump supporters when it comes to my nonprofit, and all the motherfucking Afrocentric wear your dreadlocks motherfuckers ain't donated, but I don't know, we're looking at maybe 500.
Yeah.
So at this point it's like, put your money where your fucking mouth is, because I do every day for everybody, and at the end of the day the positivity is going to that point. And it's funny because somebody sent me a parody of Lord Jamar yesterday, and I
Yeah.
fucking hate that dude. I
Yeah.
fucking hate that dude because anytime you're spreading this type of hate, first of all, I think Eminem is the best rapper ever. That's it. We can argue it all you want. It is what it is.
He's top five for me, so it's not like a
Yeah.
real argument.
So
But
there's that
yeah,
comment, and then you have this dude that says this type of shit. Now, mind you, okay, Lord Jamar doesn't believe in Eminem, or you don't believe in fucking Black Lives Matter. If all these people, because I didn't even get to touch on that, which is that was the kind of the start of people saying, "Oh, George Soros funds Black Lives Matter," and I'm like, okay, George Soros can show up tomorrow and tell me he's giving me $1 million. I'm taking that shit to Costa Rica and I'm changing the fucking world.
yeah. People get too hung up on and it's a nasty kind of set of circumstances where we live, man. I think you gotta look at things as somebody from the outside looking in. You gotta look at kind of how that money is being put to use as the first and foremost thing, right? If I'm giving money to Black Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter is just kind of lining their pockets with it and they're not really supporting the movement, they're not doing all that, then everybody's wrong all the way across the tree, man. But if real work is getting done, then don't be mad at the people who are on those front lines, who are at that vanguard really doing real work, man. Like, and if the money is coming from somebody who, you know what I'm saying, doesn't necessarily have the kind of same kind of view sets, the same politics, but they're trying to understand, or they're giving money because they understand that this is a good cause. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta look at things case by case, and you can't just look at things from black and white and just be like, oh, you voted for Trump, so you must be bad, and you can't ever change your mindset or anything like that. Like you got to take things by case, man. It's too complicated and it's too real out here to be so close minded like
Unquestionably.
that.